Have you ever been in a relationship where silence speaks louder than words? Where the pauses between texts feel like an entire universe of uncertainty? Where the person you deeply care about seems to disappear into their own world, leaving you wondering, do they love me, or am I completely invisible to them? If you've ever loved someone with an avoidant attachment style, you know this confusion all too well. They don't shout their love from the rooftops. They don't flood you with daily reassurance. They don't always say the words, "I love you," when you want to hear them. Instead, they pull back, retreat, and test the waters of closeness as if every inch forward could drown them. But here's the truth. Avoidants do love. They just love differently. They love cautiously, quietly, and often in ways that aren't obvious at first glance. And if you can decode their signals, you will see that their actions, though subtle, are more powerful than words. So today, I want to show you something transformational. I want to give you the roadmap to understanding an avoidant's hidden language of love. Because once you see it, you'll never again feel lost in the maze of their silence. You'll realize that behind every pause, behind every wall, behind every withdrawal, there are moments of incredible love trying to break through. I'm going to share 7 undeniable signs that tell you an avoidant actually loves you. These are not surface-level tricks. These are not clichés you find in generic relationship advice. These are raw, powerful truths drawn from the way avoidants think, feel, and connect. And here's why this matters. Once you understand these signs, you reclaim your power. You stop guessing. You stop chasing. You stop doubting yourself. Instead, you see reality clearly, and you get to decide whether their love, expressed in their unique way, is enough for the life you want to build. So let's dive in. For avoidants, the private world is sacred. It's their fortress, their shield, their escape. Most people never get through those walls. Even close friends may only know the surface version of them. But when an avoidant begins to love you, they do something they almost never do with anyone else. They open the door, even if only slightly, and let you inside. This doesn't happen overnight. At first, you'll notice small cracks in the armor. Maybe they mention something about their childhood, a detail about their past struggles, or a glimpse into their fears. At first, it might feel like a tiny breadcrumb, almost insignificant. But in the world of an avoidant, that breadcrumb is gold. It means they're trusting you with a piece of the story they usually hide from the world. As the love deepens, these breadcrumbs become more frequent. They start to reveal patterns about who they really are, what keeps them up at night, what dreams they're afraid to chase, what failures they still carry on their back. These confessions are their love language. It's not flowers, it's not daily declarations, it's vulnerability. And for an avoidant, vulnerability is the ultimate proof of love. Think about this. For someone whose instinct is to withdraw, to keep distance, to protect themselves at all costs, the act of letting you in is monumental. It's like handing you the keys to their most private vault. They don't do this lightly. They don't do it often. And when they do it with you, it's not by accident. It's because you matter. This is where so many partners of avoidance get lost. They want the constant affirmation, the external proof, the romantic gestures. And when they don't get those things, they assume the love isn't there. But that's a misunderstanding. Avoidants express love in different currencies, and one of the richest forms of their currency is access. Access to the private world. Access to the layers beneath the surface. Access to the stories they swore they'd never tell. So if you find yourself hearing about their family issues, their insecurities, their fears about the future, pay attention. That is not random chatter. That is intimacy. That is trust. That is love spoken in a language that doesn't always sound like love, but is love nonetheless. Avoidance may not always be consistent day to day. They might go quiet. They might retreat. They might even leave you questioning where you stand. But there is one undeniable sign of their love when it truly matters. When life hits you hard, they show up. This is the paradox of avoidant love. On the surface, they seem distant, but underneath, they are fiercely loyal when it comes to moments of crisis. If you're sick, they'll be there. If you're facing a major challenge, they'll offer solutions. If you're in danger, they'll protect you. It's in the high-stakes moments where avoidants reveal their hand. Why? Because avoidants have a strong sense of responsibility toward the people they love. Their independence may keep them at arm's length during normal times, but love compels them to step up when you need them most. In their world, actions speak louder than constant affection. And in those critical moments, their actions scream love. Imagine you're facing a career setback, a family issue, or an emotional breakdown. The avoidant partner who normally needs space suddenly rearranges their schedule to support you. They may not flood you with words of comfort, but they'll sit with you. They'll take care of the essentials. They'll offer practical help. That's their way of saying, I love you. This is crucial to understand. Avoidants reveal their love not through frequency, but through intensity. They may not be present in every casual conversation, but they will be present in the turning points of your life. And that presence is not accidental, it's intentional, because deep down they've chosen you. And avoidance independence is like oxygen. It's the very thing that keeps them steady, safe, and secure. For much of their life, they've built walls around themselves to protect their freedom. They've convinced themselves they don't need anyone, that self-sufficiency is the only way to avoid pain. But when love enters the equation, something shifts. For the first time, they're willing to loosen their grip on that independence for you. And make no mistake, this is not small. For an avoidant, this is monumental. Imagine someone who has always lived with the mindset, I can only rely on myself. Suddenly, they're choosing to rely on you, to merge parts of their life with yours. That is love. You'll notice it in subtle ways at first. Maybe they start sharing their schedule with you, where before they guarded their time fiercely. Maybe they begin to include you in their plans, where before they insisted on doing everything solo. Maybe they make sacrifices, canceling something they wanted to do in order to prioritize you. To most people, this may look ordinary. But in the world of an avoidant, compromise equals commitment. The ultimate act of love for them is not a grand gesture, but the willingness to give up small pieces of their autonomy in order to make space for you. Think about how powerful that is. If freedom has always been their lifeline, and now they're choosing to surrender pieces of it, that's not hesitation, that's love. Here's the mistake many partners of avoidance make. They don't notice these small acts. They're so focused on what isn't happening, the lack of words, the lack of frequent contact, that they overlook the fact that the avoidant has already bent their entire worldview to let them in. If you pay attention, you'll realize those moments of compromise are the love story. When they choose to let you into their day, when they adjust their habits for you, when they make decisions with your needs in mind, that's them saying, you matter more to me than my default way of surviving. That's not just love, that's transformation. Avoidants may not always show affection in the ways you expect, but one of the clearest signs of their love is this: they remember. They pay attention. They take note of the details that most people would overlook. You might casually mention your favorite childhood snack, and a month later, they surprise you with it. You might share a story about a difficult day you had years ago, and they bring it up in conversation, recalling it with precision. You might even think they weren't listening when you spoke, but then they quote back your exact words later. Why does this matter? Because for an avoidant, listening is intimacy. They may not flood you with constant validation, but they show love through observation. They're watching, learning, and storing away details, not because they have to, but because they care. Think about how different this is from someone who uses words loosely. Some people say, I love you every day, but forget what matters most to you. Avoidants, on the other hand, may rarely say it, but when they remember the details that touch your soul, that's love in action. This also means that avoidants express love in ways that are practical, thoughtful, and personalized. Instead of generic gestures, they show you that you're not just another person in their life. You're unique, you're significant, you're the one they're paying attention to, even when you don't realize it. If you've ever had an avoidant surprise you with something small yet meaningful, understand this: it wasn't random, it was intentional, and it was love speaking in their native tongue. For avoidants, physical presence is not automatic. They often need distance to regulate themselves. They withdraw when overwhelmed. They seek solitude as comfort. So when an avoidant chooses to stay close, even when every fiber of their being is telling them to retreat, that's a powerful sign of love. You'll see it in the way they linger when normally they'd leave. You'll notice it in the way they allow your hand to rest on theirs, even when touch feels overwhelming to them. You'll feel it when they choose to spend an entire weekend with you, sacrificing their usual need for space. To them, this is not trivial. Physical presence is vulnerability. It means they trust you enough to quiet the urge to flee. It means they value your connection more than their reflex to escape. It means they're rewriting their survival script for your sake. Love for an avoidant isn't about grand romantic displays. It's about the choice to remain present when it would be easier to run. And every time they stay, they're silently declaring, I love you enough to be uncomfortable. I love you enough to push past my instinct. I love you enough to choose closeness over distance. Avoidants are naturally individualistic. Their sentences are filled with I, me, and mine. Their world revolves around their own needs because that's how they've learned to survive. But when love takes root, a linguistic shift begins to happen. Suddenly, I becomes we. Instead of, I'm going to the concert, they'll say, we should go to the concert. Instead of, my weekend is busy, they'll say, our weekend is booked. That shift might seem small, but for them, it's monumental. It means they're no longer seeing themselves as separate. They're beginning to see you as part of their identity. This transition is one of the clearest indicators of love, because for an avoidant, merging identities is terrifying. It risks dependency. It risks vulnerability. It risks heartbreak. And yet, when they love you, they risk it anyway. If you start hearing wet in their vocabulary, know this, it didn't slip out by accident. It was chosen. And in that choice is the essence of their love. Perhaps the most powerful sign that an avoidant loves you is this: they let you see their fear. Not the tough exterior, not the calm, collected mask, but the raw, trembling truth underneath. When an avoidant admits, I'm scared of losing you, or I don't know how to do this relationship thing, it's not weakness. It's the strongest act of love they can give. Because for someone who survives by hiding vulnerability, exposing it to you means ultimate trust. Their fears are not just confessions, they're declarations. Declarations that say, you are so important, I'm willing to reveal the parts of myself I usually bury. You are so valuable, I'd rather risk rejection than hide the truth. You are so loved, I will take off my armor for you. When this moment comes, don't dismiss it. Don't demand more. Recognize it for what it is, the clearest signal you'll ever get that the avoidant is in love. Love is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides in silence, in small gestures, in moments that are easy to miss. With avoidance, love is not performed on a stage. It's lived in the quiet corners of presence, trust, and compromise. And if you can learn to see it, you'll never again wonder whether it exists. These 7 signs are not random behaviors. They are the blueprint of an avoidant's heart. When they let you into their private world, when they show up in crisis, when they compromise their independence, when they remember the little things, when they stay physically present, when they speak in we, and when they admit their fear, you are not just witnessing love, you are witnessing transformation. Because for avoidance, love isn't about convenience, it's about risk. It's about going against everything they've trained themselves to believe in order to embrace the one person who matters most. And when they do, it's the purest form of love you'll ever experience. But here's the choice: will you see it? Will you recognize it? Or will you miss it, waiting for the love to look like the cliches you've been taught? If you want to truly experience connection with an avoidant, you must open your eyes to their unique language of love. And when you do, you'll realize this: their love may not look like everyone else's, but it is real, it is powerful, and it just might be the most enduring love of all. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this message. If this resonated with you, know that you're not alone in your journey of understanding avoidant love. Remember, love isn't always spoken. It's often shown in ways that require deeper awareness. I appreciate your presence, your openness, and your willingness to grow. Until next time, stay strong, stay aware, and never forget, you are worthy of love that chooses you, even if it whispers instead of shouts. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.